I'm Ric Edelman. How do you keep building your business right through a deep recession? Entrepreneur Sylvia Johnson will explain how she's done it. Plus, B. Smith and her husband Dan Gasby give us their views about current racism in business. We'll also dig deep into the difference between deductible and Roth IRAs, and I'll reveal why you don't act the way that economists predict you will. Someone's being an idiot, and it's not you. So stick around. It's all coming up on The Truth About Money.
Best-selling author and founder of one of the nation's largest financial planning firms, Ric Edelman.
The hospitality industry suffered more than most during the recent recession. Most of these businesses hunkered down as best they could, but not entrepreneur Sylvia Johnson. She actually expanded during the tough years, buying hotels and golf courses, and now finishing a new resort in Northern Virginia with more than 150 rooms and a world-class spa. We sent my colleague, investment advisor Brandon Corso, to find out her secret.
Sheila, what are we looking at here?
We are looking at my dream.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the 168 rooms, which are not that visible from the front side. The area that's in the stone area, I will call it my home away from home. That's where the entranceway, look at the deer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We have a library and a wine tasting area, and then it rolls into the sports bar, and of course the regular bar where you can do some more wine tasting, and then into the restaurant there. And one of the biggest features of the resort is going to be our 23,000 square foot spa. That is something that I've always wanted to do. I really believe in fitness, health, and wellness. It's really going to be the core of not only the Salamander Hotel and Resort property, but it's the core of the Salamander brand.
Are you having fun?
I'm having a great time. I have to say now I'm having a great time. That recession was pretty tough on the hotel business, and we're getting through it now. During the recession, I was really worried that as we mothballed the property until we could start up again, and it was really important that I grow the brand.
Now, did you expanded during the recession in 08 and 09?
Yeah, I mean, you just can't sit on your hands and go, oh my God, I hope this is over. You know, you have to really be aggressive and look for ways and ideas and think out of the box. I bought a 900-acre golf resort just outside of Tampa. It was probably the most rundown property I had ever laid eyes on, but I could see the bones. And there was an extraordinary group of people called employees there that had been there forever, that truly, in their hearts, loved that property. We took a dying property and we have completely turned it into a success. So this is where, during this time of austerity, I saw a silver lining, and I said, let's go for it. And so we joined up with a group, Lubert Adler, and I actually invested with them into two other properties, Reunion and Hammock Beach. Reunion's in Orlando, and Hammock Beach is on the Palm Coast. Then we also picked up two more hotels in the Dominican Republic.
Oh. What seems to be hard from my perception is that when somebody goes to a resort like this, they're expecting the world. And so you've got to deliver on that every single time. That seems like the challenge.
It's about service, and most importantly, it's about me staying on top of things. You can have the best people in there working, but something can slip, and I have an eye. I can walk into a room, and if I see a speck on the rug, they're like, how in the world did you see? It's a brand new rug that was put down. I can find it.
It's your passion.
Yeah, it's my passion, and I believe in excellence and perfection. That's just me.
Well, I had a great time. Thanks for visiting with us today, Sheila.
You're so welcome. This is terrific, and please come and visit.
I can't wait. I will.
When it's open. Okay.
Thanks.
Brandon, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
She is the epitome of the American dream. In the face of incredible adversity, we all remember what 2008 was like, and nobody knew what was going to happen next. And instead of hunkering down, she saw this as an incredible opportunity to exploit, and she went and did it.
And she did. And I think with so many business owners, what do they all have in common? Optimism. I mean, here in 08 and 09, when there was fear and panic, she was able to expand the Salamander brand at probably very low prices.
And that is why she was so successful before and why she's becoming even more successful now. And yet it's not the same general attitude that you find most people taking. Most folks ran to the safety of cash. They abandoned all hope. They panicked, and out of that fear, missed out on incredible opportunities that she took full advantage of.
And that's perhaps a lesson that an individual investor can take from this is you follow the lead of successful people. And whether it's Warren Buffett or Sheila Johnson, they were buying after prices went down. Now, individual investors are really lousy at doing that, but maybe you should look towards what other successful people are doing and try to follow the lead.
The key to success, whether it's entrepreneurial success or investment success, is to keep your head about you while everyone else is losing theirs.
Yeah, it sure is.
Brandon, thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
If you liquidate an IRA, how much time do you have to roll over the money to another IRA before you incur a tax liability? Do you have 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or 180 days? Don't go anywhere. The correct answer is coming up.
At a recent conference, investment advisors were asked just one question. What is your client's most unrealistic opinion?
That they think they can do it themselves, and in many instances they can't.
The most unrealistic opinion that my clients have is what I would say is the definition of insanity. They want to keep doing what they've always done, but they'd like to get a different result.
Is that they have enough assets saved to retire comfortably.
My clients walk in with this idea that a lot of our solutions are just very concise, detailed. They don't involve a lot of work on their behalf to get to where they want to go.
That if they invest in the stock market, it will always go up.
That everything is coming to an end imminently.
They believe what they're saving is enough. It's very rare when you run across someone who's saving actually more than they need to save.
Okay, here's the correct answer. If you liquidate an IRA, you must roll over the money to another IRA within 60 days to avoid a tax liability. Fortunately, rolling over an IRA is a quick and easy process at many financial institutions. Just don't procrastinate.
Let's head out to John. He's calling from Fort Lauderdale. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Terrific. Thank you.
I'm 40 years old, make $50,000 a year, work for a very large healthcare company. They offer a 6% match, so I'm going to sign up because it's free money.
Perfect.
But they offer 401k regular and Roth. Which one should I sign up for?
Anderson?
Well, he's kind of in that ballpark where it might make sense to consider doing the Roth because his depending on his taxable income, he may be in that 10% to 15% average rate.
John, are you married?
No.
Okay. You're in the 25% bracket, so the advice that we have for you is take the traditional IRA. You're going to get a 25% tax break for every dollar you put in. So you're better off doing that than the Roth at this point.
And that's the real key that Anderson, you were focusing on. If your tax bracket is below the 25% rate, if your tax bracket is only in the 15% or 10% bracket, yeah, the Roth would make more sense. But because you're in the 25% bracket or higher, the traditional deductible IRA is the better course of action. And it's really that simple. In choosing between the Roth and the deductible, it's all about your tax bracket. So glad we were able to help you with that, John.
And I pay bills with my credit card. I'm still making payments on that like March 2007 car insurance bill. I'm still owing on that somehow. And like, this is a true story. Sometimes, like I said, I have to pay bills, my credit card, I get in a jam. And I paid like my car insurance and my cell phone bill one day. The next day, true story, bank calls me up and says, we think there might be some fraudulent charges on your card. I'm like, really? You think someone stole my card, then paid my bills with it? Yeah, I don't think you know how criminals work, okay?
I wanted to ask you about your oft-stated opinion that you should keep a long, big mortgage forever. It seems to me that in most cases it'd be prudent and certainly safer to pay it off with regular monthly payments and be done with the thing.
When you go to all these conferences and you do continuing ed and you look at everything that everybody always says in the industry, pay off your home, it's a fundamental truism in American personal finance. And I just basically asked a simple question. Why? No one could really give me an academic answer to it. So I sat down with a spreadsheet and tried to figure it out and analyze the difference between paying off a mortgage and not paying off a mortgage. And I finally realized paying off a mortgage is a bad idea. For most Americans, you're better off. The safer strategy, believe it or not, is keeping the mortgage, not getting rid of it. And so I started using my bully pulpit on the radio to talk about this and started talking about it in my seminars. Eventually wrote a lot about this in my book, The Truth About Money. And finally, I wouldn't shut up about it, so the industry started doing the first ever academic studies. It had never been studied before. Now, fast forward 20 years, there have been more than a dozen academic studies done, both in the United States and abroad, and every single one of these studies has concluded that I'm right. We can take the money and give it to the lender, pay for the house in cash, or we can keep our cash, invest it, and use the bank's money. Now how do I make the mortgage payment? I use the investments to make the mortgage payment. On a $100,000 loan, the monthly payment is gonna be about $500. So if I've got $100,000, I make the payment, I got $99,500 left to invest. And my premise is you're gonna be able to have so much wealth accumulated over 30 years that you'll be able to pay off that mortgage whenever you want, and you'll have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in free cash left over whenever you want it. That's the first reason. The mortgage lets you keep your money, and keeping your money gives you options. And besides, the notion that you're gonna own your home free and clear one day by doing all those strategies is nonsense. It's a lie, it's a scam, it's a fraud. Anyone who ever tells you you will ever own your home free and clear is a liar. You know why? You might get rid of the P&I, the principal and interest, but you know it's P-I-T-I. What's the T? Taxes. What's the I? Insurance. You'll never get rid of those. And what about maintenance and repairs? You'll never get rid of them. How are you going to pay for the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance and repairs and retirement if you've given all your life savings to the bank? Where's that going to come from? There's no such thing as owning a home free and clear.
But don't you think it's a fact with many citizens that if they try to hold on to that money, try to invest it, either they don't end up holding on to it, or maybe they don't invest it as prudently as they could, and they may actually end up worse off. It may actually be riskier than paying it off?
In other words, you're suggesting that if you go with an accelerated mortgage, you go with a 15-year loan, and you make extra payments to the loan, and you do everything you can, you'll send the money to the mortgage lender, at least you know you're paying that off. Whereas if you don't do those things, and we leave it up to you to send that $100 to a mutual fund, you're too much of a dumb, stupid slob to do it, you actually won't. And you'll end up with nothing. That's your fear.
I think that is true of a certain segment of the population, a significant number of people.
Is it true of you?
No.
Then you should follow my advice and don't worry about that. Because you've just cited the Achilles heel of my strategy. If, in fact, you believe that you are too dumb to do what you know you need to do, now that it's been explained to you why you need to do it and how to do it, and you're so dumb you're not going to do it anyway, then okay, go ahead and do that and be dumb. Because you've raised the Achilles heel, because if you don't pay off the mortgage and you instead get a big loan and you make only the minimum payment and you don't take the savings and throw it into your investments, you instead spend it on clothes and jewelry and cars and vacations, then yeah. But if, you know what? If you're going to be dumb, there's not a whole lot I can do to help you.
Fair enough.
Money's a weird subject, man. It's always, like, everybody views money differently. I saw this Oprah thing, this masterclass with Ted Turner. Ted Turner at one point, when he merged AOL on Time Warner, when he did that merger, he lost $7 billion. Ted Turner looks into the camera and says, "There's no need in crying over spilled milk." Like, that's not milk, you idiot. What kind of milk is that? That must be buttermilk. That milk must have came from a cash cow.
Rick, I've got a question. Why are humans so irrational when it comes to money, even though we're assumed to be rational in Econ 101?
Rational? Humans are supposed to be rational? The only people who think that are economists, and that's because economists are idiots. I'm really serious about this. Anybody who thinks that economists know what's going on in the economy, well, that's irrational. I've got proof, too. Economists have always long felt that investors are rational and behave rationally. Here's a little quick experiment to demonstrate why you are smarter than the average economist. I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to give you 10 cents or a 1 in 10 chance for $1. Which will you take? I'm willing to bet that you're going to go for the $1. I mean, so what if you lose? You only lose 10 cents. But let's change the test. This time I'm going to give you $1 million or a 1 in 10 chance for 10 million. Which will you take now? I'm willing to bet that you'll stick with the $1 million. Economists would claim that you're not being rational. Economists would say that the odds are the same in both tests, a 1 in 10 chance of success, and therefore your answer should have been the same in both tests. And the only reason that economists believe that is because economists are idiots. We understand the reality. We understand that humans act emotionally, that we take things into consideration, factors that aren't entirely based in rationality. And that is why there is a new breed of economists that have emerged, and they're called behavioral economists. They recognize that psychology plays a huge role in financial decision-making, and behavioral finance is the source of several Nobel Prize winners in the field of economics. So the next time somebody tells you that you're supposed to be rational when it comes to money, you can accuse them of being an economist. By any measure, B. Smith and her husband and business partner Dan Gasby are successful entrepreneurs. Their businesses include 3 restaurants in 3 cities, products distributed by Bed Bath & Beyond, and a national furniture line. But their achievements have not shielded them from racism. We sat down in their New York restaurant to talk about it. Well, here we are in this beautiful restaurant in New York City, one of 3 that you opened, but it all began with what?
You know, when I first went into the business, I was still modeling, but I loved the restaurant business. I loved eating out, but I really loved it. I loved cooking and entertaining and food, and, you know, I lived in wonderful places as a model and traveled a lot. So it just was a passion of mine, and I turned that passion into a business. So, and eventually I met my husband in that business, and I thought, okay.
But Rick, she also overcame a lot. I had one company, very prominent company, had 3,000 stores. We're in a meeting and we get the feedback. Well, her hair is not right. I've talked to one of a major executive. Her hair is not right. And I said, it didn't hurt Whoopi Goldberg. Or another point, or someone says, she doesn't talk black. Like, you have to be, have
So one's arguing you're too black, the other one is arguing you're not black enough.
You got it.
So how are you supposed to win in that kind of a scenario?
Well, just keep being who you are.
And that's really what it comes down to. An entrepreneur is one who just pushes through those objections, through those denials, and doesn't let no be no.
That's right.
A no is a speed bump on the way to yes. We don't, you know what? If we had $1 for every time someone told us what we couldn't do, we would be wealthy. We could write a book on making no's into money.
So here you are today, having gone through a lot of those objections and obstacles. They must have been infuriating to you as people were judging you and making decisions that had nothing to do with you, nothing to do with what you were offering, but simply based on these absurd bigotries and biases.
You still have to try. If you have a dream and you have a goal and you know exactly what you want to do, you know, you just get out there. It's like when people first come to New York and they're looking for jobs, they walk the street and eventually they find something.
If you are of color or a minority race, do you ignore it and pretend it's not there? Do you confront it? How do you get past that obstacle?
You have to be able to walk into a room and realize that no matter what, you're going to tell your story. And you're going to tell your story intellectually, sociologically, and ultimately from a standpoint of I can make you money or I can make us money.
Isn't that really what it comes down to, is that it's not black and white, it's green? So isn't that an overpowering solution to the objection that at first you might reach, is that you can rent me this space because you're going to make a lot of money with me as
and some will say yes, and some will say I don't care. But yeah, money or green or opportunity, you have to work through it. You may have to go where another person may have to go through 3 people. You may have to go through 12.
It wouldn't occur to me offhandedly that in today's society, race would still be such a dominant issue in entrepreneurial circles. And I'm being naive.
Yes, you are. You're being naive, and maybe you don't see it that way because
I don't have to deal with it.
Well, you don't have to deal with it, and you're an entrepreneur. And a pure entrepreneur really doesn't care so long as it's going to work.
So on the assumption that I'm being a dumb white guy from the Northeast and I'm just too stupid to notice it. Yeah, the dumb part. No. Is so that since I'm oblivious to this reality, what message do you feel needs to be conveyed to people like me so that we open our eyes?
We're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And as I've said, we've stood on a mountain of no's for one yes. And we still have to do that. We've knocked on doors. We've gotten on airplanes and flown down to Texas for, on a business trip that didn't pan out. We've done all of that, but we're not going to stop.
Not being afraid to fail. That's the biggest thing. Telling young people, when you tell them, we talk, says, I want to talk to you about the F word, and they have one. No, failure. We fail more every year because we try more every year.
And I assume you learn more from your failures than your successes.
Nobody learns from being successful but arrogance or the belief that it's going to always be that way.
B, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Dan.
Hey, our pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Before we go, some thoughts about today's show. Earlier, I said that economists are idiots. A strong statement, but I stand by it when people assume that humans make rational financial decisions. But there's a difference between acting irrationally and just being plain dumb. Yes, I got a bit heated when I talked about why to have a big mortgage, but it's frustrating when I see people get a mortgage and then waste that opportunity on clothes, cars, and vacations. Yeah, I want to help people live a happy and prosperous life, and it bugs me when I encounter people who just act too dumb to learn. Some people really are their own worst enemy. And sadly, that is the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next week.